Welcome to First. I'm Shirley Min along with Mark Eichman and Nichelle Polston. There's an art show coming to Delaware, but it's no ordinary display. There's foreign intrigue and a group called the Financial Guard that's behind it. We'll explain.
And we'll attempt to explain what might go into the decision that will come in a couple of weeks over the future of Moyer Academy. The State Board of Education delayed its decision until October, but can the school prove they've done enough to continue?
And this ship was once destined for the scrap heap. Now you can see how it continues with its original mission, lighting up the Delaware Bay for ships. First, your public media news magazine starts now.
3 years in the making, a first-of-its-kind art exhibit of valuable antiquities from Italy is set to make its U.S. debut in Delaware. What makes it unique is that all of the pieces were stolen and later recovered by the Italian government, the stories of which read like Hollywood action movie scripts. This week's First Look gives you a sneak peek into the show titled Treasures and Tales of Italy's Art Recovery Team. These statues, mosaics, and ceramics are not from a museum or a private collection.
All the pieces that you see behind me and also in Wilmington is stolen art. It's Italian stolen art.
Stolen artifacts, recovered from art traffickers around the world by Italy's Art Recovery Team, a special unit of the Italian government's Guardia di Finanza, or Financial Guard.
We're talking about all Italian artifacts. And we're talking about the Greek, Roman, and Etruscan art.
120 of these art masterpieces will be showcased right here in Delaware.
It's a big deal. It's a very big deal. It is just a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for the state of Delaware.
Preparations are underway for a smaller exhibition at the University of Delaware's Old College Gallery. Director of Museums Janice Tomlinson says it's a first for the university.
We have many students who are studying the classical world, and we have students in art history. So all of those classes will be coming, and rather than look at slides of objects, all of the students will be able to see and work with these objects firsthand, which is just fantastic.
The UD display will complement a concurrent exhibition at the Grand Opera House in Wilmington. More than the pieces, though, exhibit organizer Emiliano Guerra wants to showcase the tough and oftentimes dangerous work of the Guard's art recovery team. Stolen by a tomb raider, he says this valuable Etruscan vase was recovered and later used in a sting operation. Guns were drawn, but in the end, the Guard busted a big-time art buyer who was trying to get the piece out of the country. Stories like this will be a big part of the show. Stories retired FBI agent Robert Whitman is all too familiar with. He founded the FBI's own art crime team in 2005.
I was responsible for recovering about $300 million worth of stolen art and cultural property.
The New York Times bestselling author says he's tracked down everything from a Civil War battle flag to a $35 million Rembrandt stolen from a museum in Sweden over the course of his 20-year career. Whitman says the job often pitted him against dangerous criminals who made several attempts on his life.
These individuals were doing things like armed robbery, murder, drug dealing, car and boat theft. I mean, there were all kinds of crimes. It just so happened they did an art heist too.
The Guard's art recovery team is credited with retrieving almost 1 million stolen Italian artifacts all over the world in the last 100 years, with 1 million action-packed stories to go along with them.
To recreate those stories and to tell those histories, I think, is really fascinating.
But why did the Financial Guard choose Wilmington and Newark when you would expect to see a show of this caliber in New York City or Philadelphia?
I do this job in Italy for 10 years with the Guardia di Finanza, and we do the same things. We don't go to Florence, Rome, or Venice, because if you go in Rome, this kind of pieces you can find inside some museum. We try to put in a city they don't have this kind of pieces, so it's more attractive.
Guerra says enthusiasm from the state, as well as a proven track record of putting on impressive shows, made Delaware a lock. For example, the exhibition of renowned jeweler Fabergé 14 years ago in Wilmington left a lasting impression on him. From there, he connected with the nonprofit International Council of Delaware last year to really get the ball rolling.
It's the first time outside Italy. It's the first time in the United States, and so we are very happy to do this.
Some big firsts for the first state. Treasures and Tales of Italy's Art Recovery Team opens October 3rd. The exhibition runs through December 7th at UD and December 21st at the Grand Opera House. Tickets at the Grand cost $15.
It's a really fascinating story. I had no idea that this art crime was such a big deal.
I had no idea either, but it's a $6 billion business. And when we're talking art crime, we're talking not only about stolen art, but also frauds, forgeries, and fakes. And one of the artifacts that is going to be on the exhibit is a forgery that was made to look like a 6th century piece created by Greek painter and potter Euphronius. And what's interesting is the trouble that these forgers went to make it appear that old. They irradiated the piece with radiation therapy equipment you would find in a hospital. So that's just one really cool story that you might run into if you go to the exhibit.
These guys weren't messing around. So is this something that will be a returning thing? Will it be back next year?
Well, the exhibit organizer says next year it might travel to a different state, but he's not sure where just yet. For now, though, you can learn more about the exhibit at treasuresandtales.com.
All right. Thanks, Shirley. As always, you can read more about this story online at newsworks.org/Delaware.
Coming up on First, we'll talk about crime and other issues as we begin our election 2014 conversation with the candidates for Attorney General. And this ship used to patrol the Delaware Bay as a lighthouse. A First Experience history lesson later on First.
The new Moyer Academy is the latest charter school to receive a failing grade from the Charter Oversight Group in Delaware. They've recommended that Secretary Mark Murphy revoke the charter, effectively closing it at the end of this school year. The school's principal at Moyer says there are a lot of reasons why the school should go on. We go to the pages of newsworks.org/Delaware for a report from Shanna O'Malley.
After a successful career as a school counselor and school administrator, Keenan Dorsey was on the path that could have led to working in some of Delaware's top schools. But after hearing of the troubles at Moyer Academic Institution, a charter school that serves about 200 students in Wilmington, Dorsey felt obligated to go back to his hometown.
I was like, why not? I said, that's my old community. Those kids deserve something. And who else to give it to them but one of their own.
The 6th through 12th grade school has gone through 9 principals since receiving its charter in 2012. Dorsey says the difference between him and previous administrators is his ability to understand some of the underlying issues that affect student progress.
You're talking about financially, you're talking about just the regular social issues of parents or siblings selling and using drugs. The majority of my students are struggling with coming from a fatherless home.
He says those personal issues have taken a toll on grades.
Our students tested at it between the kindergarten through 4th grade level, which was very startling to me because this is a 6th to 12th grade school.
With a background in school counseling, Dorsey came up with a plan to provide structure, safety, and a sense of belonging at Moyer. He replaced 90% of the staff and switched to a block schedule to allow more instruction time for each subject. Although it's early in the school year, Dorsey says they've seen vast improvements in the attitude and participation of students.
We're over 95% attendance rate. I tell the students, you need to be in school. You need to be in school, not just be in school on time. You come to school at 8 o'clock. The next thing, discipline is actually lowered. This time last year, there were 8 fights in the school. There's 0. You can walk the hallways today. The hallways are quiet.
While the changes have been positive, it might not last long. Recently, the State Charter School Accountability Committee recommended to revoke the school's charter because of poor academic performance. Dorsey's hoping they'll give his plan a chance to take effect.
I want all my students to go to college. I want all my students to be able to see a goal and also map out a blueprint for the students to get to the goal.
A final decision will be made at the Department of Education meeting on October 9th. For Newsworks, I'm Shanna O'Malley.
Let's go a little more in depth on this topic. We have Shanna O'Malley here on set with us. Also joining us is Nicole Dobo from the News Journal and DelawareOnline.com. She covered the education beat when the Moyer charter was first revoked several years ago. But Shanna, let's start with you. Principal Dorsey really saying, give us one more chance. Let us fix this one final time and get it right. You toured the school recently. Tell us what you saw.
I thought the school was really clean. I thought the staff was friendly. I thought everyone was really enthusiastic about the school year. The students were in their classrooms. They were in their seats. A couple of the classes that I visited, they were actually taking quizzes. So I thought that there was a lot of enthusiasm for learning there this year.
And Nicole, this must really seem like deja vu all over again. We've been here before. You covered the charter revocation several years ago. Take us through what happened in that situation a couple years ago.
Right. In 2010, the state said we are going to close the school. Shortly thereafter, they changed their mind. They kept the school open and they gave it a outside company, K-12, to run it. The school's enrollment plummeted after that, even with the new operator, and they didn't really ever recover the students they lost.
And so now that brings us sort of to the situation we are, where they're up for a possible revocation of the charter, and it's a decision that was supposed to have already been made, but has now been delayed until October.
Yeah, they decided to wait until their October 9th Board of Education meeting just so they could have a little bit more time to look over the public testimony that they received.
And there's really been, like we saw several years ago, kind of an outpouring from school leaders, at least, that save our school. We want to keep doing this. But there's an economic question, I guess, that the board has to consider, whether this school is a burden on taxpayers.
Yeah, what has changed there is a different model for how the State Board of Education chooses whether they're going to keep a school open or not. And there are questions of taxpayer money, but unlike Philadelphia, where we're closing schools because of lack of resources, that's not the case in Delaware. It's a little bit of a different question here.
And I guess there's something to be said with knowing one way or the other, if the board decides to close at the end of the school year, that kind of hangs over the school's head and really, to the principal's point, ruins their chances for success in this school year. But if they do keep it open, is this going to keep coming back, or is the charter going to keep reconsidered for revocation?
Yeah, Principal Dorsey's just, he's worried that this sort of hanging over their head right now is going to kill school morale. And this is already sort of a last-ditch effort for students that are going there, for a lot of them. So he's worried that, if they get their charter revoked, that the kids are going to go, maybe to the streets.
Very closely watched decision. Thank you very much, Nicole Doba of the News Journal. Thanks to Shanna O'Malley of WHYY and Newsworks. Shanna will continue to cover the Moyer situation. You can find her reporting at newsworks.org/Delaware.
First Online can be found at WHYY.org/first. You can view this show when you want. All of our shows can be found there too. We also have an e-newsletter. Just sign up and we'll let you know about everything happening with the show.
This week's first person is the Republican nominee for Attorney General, Ted Kittila. Great having you here, Ted.
Well, thanks for having me, Shirley. It's good to be here.
You're a practicing trial lawyer in Wilmington.
Yes, I am.
Why did you decide to run for Attorney General?
Well, I did it because I really wanted people to have a choice on November 4th. I come from Delaware. I actually grew up in Seaford. My mom is still down there. My children are up here in Newcastle County with my wife. And this year alone, at my children's school, there was 3 times that I was contacted about a sexual predator working in the school. To me, this is a serious issue, and I really want to return the Office of Attorney General back to basics. We really have got to tackle some of these crime problems that we're seeing. So I wanted people to have a choice on November 4th, and I wanted them to choose a courtroom attorney like myself.
Now, Attorney General Beau Biden has made protecting children from sexual predators his theme. Do you feel like under his leadership the office has not gone far enough?
I think it needs to continue. I think that's the goal for me, is we need to continue. It's being ever vigilant, and fighting this problem means that we need to sort of continue on with that mission. So my goal is to keep pressing on with this, and I applaud the fact that he called this to the state's attention, but you can see that we just got to keep moving forward.
Now, Democrats outnumber Republicans by almost 2-1. So to win, you are going to need to garner some crossover support.
Sure.
Do you have a strategy of how you're going to try to do that?
Well, absolutely. I think that as far as it goes, you know, I believe in the citizens of Delaware. I think when they look at the fact that the one-party rule in this state has gotten some of the results that they have right now, I think a lot of people are very smart about how they're going to vote this time around. Since 2009, we've seen an increase in crime rate in the city of Wilmington. And that, to me, is unacceptable. I mean, we've had 21 homicides this year in the city of Wilmington. That's 21 too many. We have a heroin problem that goes up and down the state, from the town I grew up in, Seaford, all the way up to Wilmington. So these are issues that are very real to the voters. And I have talked with a lot of people throughout the summer and coming into the fall now. They're very aware that I'm going to need some help from the other side. I'm going to also need some help from independents. But the message is getting out. One-party rule is not working, and people have woken up to that.
What are your thoughts on Wilmington Mayor Dennis Williams' initiative towards community policing?
I think it's a great idea. Actually, I want to continue that. I really want to see police officers getting out of squad cars. I want them to develop a relationship with the people that they're policing. When people have trust in the police officers, when they have faith that if they report something that they're not going to be a target for retaliation, when they feel that they're protected, I think people are going to come forward, and it'll help to bring about some of the arrests that we need to get the city back on track.
Now, in a recent GOP weekly message, you had talked about, and these were your words, Delaware's crisis of crime.
Yes.
And you mentioned that the people of Delaware needed to have the AG's office with an AG's office with a priority of putting criminals in jail. How do you specifically intend to make the state safer and put more bad guys in jail?
Well, I think when you look at what happens with respect to prosecution and plea bargaining, I think one of the issues that people have raised a concern with is, number one, making sure that people that are violent criminals don't get back out on the street right away. I've supported a constitutional amendment to allow judges more discretion in doing that. I think also as well that when you have a gun offense, if it's a person prohibited from carrying a firearm and it's in a situation where they're picked up, we cannot plea bargain those away. We need to send a strong signal that if you're going to commit a crime with a firearm, you're going to go away, and it's going to be a mandatory. So that's one of the clearest ways to send a signal that I'm serious about this. We have to also be, willing to lose a few cases as well in the AG's office. Sometimes losing those cases is sending a message as well, on what we need to do better as far as policing efforts go. In that same weekly message, you said that the state needs an attorney general who's also not looking for the next photo op. Were you talking about Beau Biden or your Democratic opponent? I'm talking about my Democratic opponent. I applaud Beau for what he's done. I think it was a noble thing to step down right now. He's a family man and a veteran, and we're going to miss him as he takes the next 2 years off. But with Mr. Den is really using this office, I think, for the waiting room for the governor's office. That, to me, is completely unacceptable. This office requires leadership right now. And if we do not get a leader in this office to take control and to push forward, I think we're going to see a repeat of what's happened over the last 8 years. And it just cannot continue. You need somebody that's willing to put their head, stick their neck out and be willing to call into question bad policies. So, to reiterate, Den's heart's not really into it, in your opinion, that it is sort of just a move in political gamesmanship? I wouldn't go that far. I think he does want to serve the state of Delaware. But my challenge to Mr. Den is serve the state as lieutenant governor. You were elected for a 4-year term. Finish that term up there. You can do a lot of good in that position. And I've challenged him in the sense that, honestly, that's the best way to fight crime throughout the state, is to bring jobs back to the city of Wilmington and across the state of Delaware. If he were to do that, in his role of lieutenant governor, I think he would pave his way to the governor's office. Now, you're a courtroom attorney, as I mentioned earlier. How important is it to have that sort of courtroom experience for the role of AG? Well, I want to be able to work together with the deputy AGs in that office. They have a hard enough job as it is. And my view of it is being in the trenches with them will allow me the ability to talk to people smartly about what we're doing, what's working, what's not working, and to push for more resources.
We keep hearing career politician. It's almost a dirty phrase now at this point. What makes a career politician? You know, how many terms does it make a career politician? I
don't know if it takes a certain number of terms, but right now, from what I've been seeing, I think my opponent, Mr. Den, fits that classification. You know, he's 3 terms in now. He's really that really is his career trajectory. And my view of it is that I'm a small business owner. I own my own law firm in the city of Wilmington. I've taken a personal hit financially by doing this race. I'm doing this for the fact that I really believe that the citizens of Delaware need that choice and an end to the one-party rule.
Well, Ted Kittila, thank you so much for being here today. I do want to mention that Lieutenant Governor Matt Den will be here. Again, he is running for AG for the Democrats. He'll be here next week. Ted Kittila, thank you once again.
Thanks so much, Shirley.
Now let's head over to Mark.
We'll have lots of chances to talk politics with Rob Tourneau. This is his monthly segment on First. Rob, thanks for being here.
Thanks.
But this week you felt you needed to say something about the Ray Rice situation. Everybody knows about it, and there are certainly Ravens fans here in the First State. And the state has a connection to the Ravens through Joe Flacco from the University of Delaware. Take us through the cartoon this week.
Yeah. So half of Delaware probably roots for the Ravens, but also half the state roots for the Eagles. And I sort of found this parallel between the Ravens situation and Mike Vick. When Mike Vick was signed, a lot of Eagles fans, one who works here, just boycotted the team, didn't watch the team. But with Ray Rice, it's almost the opposite approach. You have people wearing Ray Rice jerseys. You have an owner who pretty much covered it up, knew what happened to that elevator, and I don't know when it's going to be enough for Ravens fans to say, you know what, we're walking away.
Right. A couple other things we should go over while you're here. Your webcomic, It's a Sure Thing, is still going strong on newsworks.org. So tell us, how are the Featherstones doing now that it's fall?
Yeah, they're doing great. They're adjusting. All the Bennies and the Shoebies have left the beach, and now they're trying to keep business going with all the locals. And you know, Dan Featherstone's getting into running. You have Piper going to school. It's a lot of cool stuff. It's a fun thing to do. It's fun to get away from the politics and just have fun with this like wacky family at the shore.
It's been fun to follow along for us, for sure. And finally, on a much different note, we lost one of the great cartoonists in the country with the passing of Tony Auth this month. How did he inspire you?
Tony was such a positive influence. You know, he always wanted to challenge himself. Even at the end of his career, he's showing me his iPad and how he drew these videos. He wanted to know how to be more affluent with like mobile and Twitter and Reddit. And, you know, for an old guy to be like trying to reinvent sort of this like profession, it was pretty inspiring. And, you know, his style is very simple. And yeah, I really miss the guy. He's just such a positive force, you know.
And that really seems like the trend. Things are changing in the industry, whether it's comics or any kind of media, but to really stay on the cutting edge really says a lot about him. And
and he was doing it at the end of his career, you know, reinventing himself and reinventing the industry. So it was pretty inspiring.
Rob, thanks so much. He is Rob Tourneau. Rob is a busy guy, but never too busy for you to read him online at newsworks.org/Delaware. Follow him on Twitter at Rob Tourneau.
For over 100 years, lightships protected ships up and down both of America's coasts, including right here in Delaware. Until 1968, the lightship Overfalls served in the middle of the bay between Cape May, New Jersey and Cape Henlopen, Delaware. Now a National Historic Landmark in Lewis, the Overfalls is a tourist attraction. First Experience shows the ship's history and the efforts taken to restore it to its former glory.
Welcome to the Lightship Overfalls, here on the canal in the beautiful Canal Front Park in Lewis, Delaware. The Lightship Overfalls is one of the last few remaining of a fleet of floating lighthouses. They built a total of 179 of these, and most of those are long gone, and we are the only one in Delaware that's a National Historic Landmark. The Overfalls Shoals is a very dangerous place, and it's right in the middle of the entrance to Delaware Bay, a major shipping thoroughfare. They needed the navigational aid to prevent accidents, but they couldn't build a permanent structure. so they got the idea of putting a light on a boat. In 1970, a local historian who lamented the loss of our lightship overfalls out here in the bay saw in a publication that there was one for sale for $1. So down he went with a tugboat friend, and they hauled it up here. And then in 1999, the current foundation took it over and began the restoration process.
I've been here for 16 years, and I've been heading up a group called the Dirty Hands Gang. And this is the group that have restored this ship. And during the past 16 years, we've put in about 30,000 man-hours of restoration and maintenance on this ship. When we first got the ship, it was in dire straits. It had been sitting here in this place for about 30-some years, virtually no work whatsoever done to it. We managed to get the ship pulled out of here in 2008, and we took it to Kelowna Shipyard in Norfolk, Virginia. When they got done power washing the hull of the ship, it looked like Swiss cheese. We got it down there, got the new hull on it, brought it back here to the current slip. We redid all the grounds, the landscaping and all to match up with the rest of the park here. We could physically see after every given day how much more progress we made to this ship. And that was so much of a reward, it was unbelievable, and the satisfaction of seeing it is here today. I have met such wonderful people in this organization, made so many new friends.
I love this ship. I love what it represents. For me, I came to Lewis in 1962, and it was out there. And it's one of the first things I saw when I went on a fishing trip, was it was out there along with its 3 other sister lightships doing its job. And then to see it fall apart was heartbreaking. So to be part of that team that was able to bring it back together and to tell that story for future generations is really important to me. My grandchildren call it Grandma's Light. So I'm pretty dedicated.
Today, seeing people come on a ship and asking all the questions and kind of marveling at it, and just seeing the kids' eyes, they sparkle. And it's a really reward that I've had, and I've been on here for 16 years and doing this, heading it up, and I'll never forget it. It's been one of the great experiences of my life.
The lightship Overfalls was designated a National Historic Landmark in 2011 and is open for tours on the weekends through Columbus Day. There are now only 17 out of 179 of these ships left in existence. The original lightship Overfalls that served in the Delaware Bay is now a museum in Oakland, California, and it has been renamed the Lightship Relief. You can find more information on the Overfalls on their website, overfalls.org.
Next week, we look at the introduction of community policing in Wilmington. The Williams administration hopes this is the step needed to stop violence here in the city. And we take flight to show how important Delaware is to birds of the world. It's our Delaware Today partner story.
And don't forget, we'll have Matt Dehn here to talk about his run for Delaware Attorney General. That is first for this week. We thank you for watching. For Mark Eichman and Nichelle Polston, I'm Shirley Min. Have a great week.
City Council is encouraging the public to attend the next Education, Youth and Families meeting, where the main topic will be the Priority Schools Initiative from Governor Jack Markell and the Delaware Department of Education. The state has set aside nearly $6 million in funding to help 6 struggling schools in the city of Wilmington, and you can find out all about it at the meeting. The Education, Youth and Families Committee meeting is open to the public and will be held on Thursday, October 9th at 6 p.m. in the Lewis L. Redding City County Building at 800 North French Street in downtown Wilmington. If you cannot attend the meeting, you can watch it live on our website or stream it later from our online video archive. For more information, go to WITN22.org.